In a cave in Spain, at the bottom of a 13-meter pit, lies the largest collection of human bones ever found from this period in history. 28 individuals, dumped or placed in a shaft so deep and so dark that reaching them requires descending into complete blackness. They died 430,000 years ago. And in 2013, scientists extracted DNA from one of them. What they found didn't just surprise them. It broke every existing model of human evolution that scientists had spent decades building. Because the DNA didn't match what it should have matched. These people, living in Spain 430,000 years ago, were genetically connected to a population that, according to everything we knew, shouldn't have existed yet, in a place thousands of kilometers away, at a time when the connection was supposed to be impossible. Sima de los Huesos, the pit of bones. It's the strangest, darkest, most scientifically explosive site in the history of human paleontology, and almost nobody has heard of it. The Atapuerca cave system in northern Spain has been inhabited, in one form or another, for at least 1.2 million years. It sits in the Cantabrian Mountains, near the city of Burgos, unremarkable from the outside. A limestone hill with entrances that generations of humans have moved through, lived near, and used without any idea what lay deeper inside. The cave system runs for kilometers underground, dark, cold, and almost completely inaccessible without modern equipment. In 1976, a team of Spanish researchers began systematic excavation of the site, working their way deeper into the system year by year, finding bones, stone tools, evidence of human occupation stretching back further than almost anywhere else in Europe. Then they found the shaft, a vertical drop of approximately 13 meters, nearly 4 stories, in complete darkness, at the end of a narrow passage that requires crawling to access. At the bottom, bones. Thousands of them, from at least 28 individuals. Men, women, children, adolescents, a near-complete cross-section of a prehistoric human community. The oldest large collection of human remains ever found anywhere on Earth. And the question that immediately presented itself, the question that has driven research at this site for nearly 50 years, is one that nobody has fully answered yet. How did they get there? The individuals at the bottom of the pit of bones belong to a species called Homo heidelbergensis, a large-brained, physically powerful archaic human that lived across Europe and possibly Africa between approximately 700,000 and 200,000 years ago. They were not modern humans. Their skulls were longer and lower than ours, with heavy brow ridges and faces that projected forward more than a modern human face. But their brains were large, overlapping with the modern human range in some individuals, and their bodies were robust and powerful, adapted to the cold climates of Pleistocene Europe. They hunted large animals cooperatively, made sophisticated stone tools, almost certainly communicated in something resembling language. The individuals at Sima de los Huesos were physically impressive even by the standards of their species. Analysis of their bones suggests they were taller and more muscular than average for Homo heidelbergensis, possibly suggesting the pit contained a specific subset of the population, rather than a random cross-section. One individual, nicknamed Cranium 5, or Miguelon by the research team, is one of the most complete archaic human skulls ever found. His face, reconstructed from hundreds of bone fragments, looks back at you across 430,000 years with an expression that is uncomfortably recognizable. He had a severe dental abscess that must have caused him significant pain for months or years before his death. The kind of pain that today a dentist fixes in an afternoon. He endured it and kept going until he didn't. Here's the question that has consumed researchers since the first bones were found. 28 people don't fall into a 13-meter pit by accident. The shaft is not connected to any living area. There is no evidence of habitation near the entrance to the shaft. No hearths, no food remains, no stone tools in the immediate vicinity. These people did not live here and fall in one by one. They were placed here, deliberately, intentionally, by someone who went to significant effort to lower or drop bodies into a shaft so deep that retrieving anything from it would have been nearly impossible. This is, if the deliberate placement interpretation is correct, one of the oldest known examples of intentional disposal of the dead anywhere on Earth, predating the oldest known burials by hundreds of thousands of years. Which raises a question that cuts to the heart of what makes us human. Did Homo heidelbergensis grieve? Did they have enough of an emotional and cognitive relationship with death to treat their dead as something other than waste? To make the effort, the significant, deliberate, logistically demanding effort of carrying bodies to this shaft and lowering them into the darkness? We don't know. We cannot know for certain. But the bones are there, 28 of them, in a shaft that serves no practical purpose as a burial site, at the bottom of 13 meters of darkness. Something motivated someone to put them there, and whatever it was, it looks uncomfortably like something we would recognize. We'll get to the DNA twist in a moment. But first, there's one more detail about the pit that stops researchers cold. Among the thousands of bones at the bottom of the Pit of Bones, researchers found exactly one artifact, a single stone hand axe, made from a striking red quartzite that does not occur naturally anywhere near the cave. Someone carried it, specifically, from a source that has never been identified, possibly kilometers away. It was placed, or thrown, into the pit with the bodies. It is the oldest known grave good in human history. If it was intentional, and the researchers who have spent decades at this site believe it was, then someone 430,000 years ago chose a beautiful red stone tool and gave it to their dead. Not for practical purposes. The hand axe is too large and too carefully made to be disposable. It was valuable, significant, something worth keeping, and they gave it away to someone who was gone. That act, if it was an act, if it was deliberate, is one of the most haunting things in all of human prehistory. A gesture of care or grief or meaning directed at the dead, 430,000 years before anyone built a pyramid or wrote a prayer. In 2013, a team led by Svante Pääbo, the same scientist who sequenced the Neanderthal genome and would go on to win the Nobel Prize, extracted mitochondrial DNA from one of the Sima de los Huesos individuals. The results were published in Nature, and they created immediate confusion. The DNA didn't match Neanderthals. It matched Denisovans. This was deeply unexpected. Denisovans, the mysterious archaic human species identified entirely through DNA from a finger bone found in Siberia, were supposed to be an Eastern population, separated from European Neanderthals by thousands of kilometers and significant geographic barriers. But here were individuals in Spain, as Western as you can get in Eurasia, showing genetic affinity with a population that should have been in Siberia. In 2016, Pääbo's team extracted nuclear DNA from the same individuals, a much more complete picture than mitochondrial DNA alone. The nuclear DNA told a different story. These individuals were more closely related to Neanderthals than to Denisovans, placing them on the Neanderthal branch of the human family tree, as the team had originally expected. The mitochondrial DNA mystery remains partially unresolved. The leading hypothesis is that Sima de los Huesos people carried Denisovan-like mitochondrial DNA that was later replaced in the Neanderthal lineage through interbreeding with another population, possibly one we haven't identified yet. In other words, the Pit of Bones didn't just reveal who these people were. It revealed that the human family tree in this period was even more complicated, even more interconnected, and even more surprising than anyone had imagined. There were populations moving across Eurasia 430,000 years ago, interbreeding, exchanging genes, leaving traces in DNA that we're only now beginning to read, whose existence we had no idea about before Sima de los Huesos. The Pit of Bones is still being excavated. After nearly 50 years of work, researchers estimate they have recovered approximately half of the bones present in the shaft. The other half, thousands more fragments, potentially from individuals not yet identified, remains in the sediment at the bottom of the pit. Every field season brings new discoveries, new bones, new DNA, new questions. And each answer seems to open more questions than it closes. What we know: 28 individuals, 430,000 years old, deliberately placed in a pit by people who may have grieved for them, accompanied by a single beautiful red hand axe that someone gave up to give to the dead. What we don't know: why? What it meant to them? What they believed, if they believed anything? Whether the gesture was grief or ritual or something we have no concept for. But here's what I keep coming back to. 430,000 years ago, someone stood at the edge of a 13-meter shaft in complete darkness and lowered someone they had known into it and left them a red stone. We don't know their name. We don't know what they felt. We don't know what they thought happened after death or whether they thought anything at all. But they did something deliberate, something that required effort and intention and care. Something that, 430,000 years later, we look at and immediately understand, even if we can't explain it. The Pit of Bones sits at the bottom of a 13-meter shaft in a cave in northern Spain. 430,000 years ago, someone put 28 people there and left them a red stone. We still don't know why. Subscribe to Penciled In History for new videos every week. And drop a comment. Do you think the placement of bodies in the Pit of Bones was an act of grief or something else entirely?